Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. It's Rod with Pow Group. Welcome back in the pursuit of wealth. We're going to get started here in about 30 seconds to a minute. We'll give it another little bit here before we get started. Give some people some time to jump on. Bit of a last minute live stream here. Had a super busy day today, so trying to squeeze this one in as quickly as possible. Let us know where you're tuning in from. And Mr. L's in the chat. I'll jump into the chat here in just a bit. I'll get to that question. No problem at all. I can give my thoughts and opinions on that. I see we have a couple dozen people rolling in. People are coming in droves now, so welcome, welcome. We're going to get started here in about half a minute. All right, the gang is here. We've got a couple dozen people on the live stream. Welcome, everybody. We're going to get started with the live stream today. We're going to be discussing Tilray Brands Q2 2025 earnings. We're going to review them. I did the live stream earlier today of the conference call, and that was a lot of fun. So appreciate everybody tuning in for that. And was kind of going through the chat, giving my thoughts and opinions. So if you haven't seen that, you can check it out. And you can even do like a summary, transcript, AI all embedded into it now, which is great. Definitely a huge time saver. But before we get to it, make sure to smash the like. It helps support me in the channel. If you're new, you can subscribe. Take the bell, you'll be notified on any future videos or when I go live. And as always, this is not financial advice. This is for entertainment purposes only. And full disclosure, I do own Tilray. It's my largest MJ portfolio holding. You can also follow us over on X, formerly Twitter. Handle for that is @GroupPow. So welcome back on the Pursuit of Wealth, everybody. It's Rod with Pow Group, your home for MJ stocks, crypto assets, news, and interviews. And we'll jump right into the earnings review. So they did miss in terms of EPS. I'll just play this quick video here from Tilray as well. They did miss in terms of revenue and EPS. It was a pretty big miss in terms of both. And I mentioned in the Pow Group private community, and I think I mentioned on X as well, that I expected them to miss in terms of analyst estimates. And we knew that from the AMA, they probably weren't going to see any real, profitability or any major numbers coming out of the HD9, the hemp-derived beverages. That's probably going to be a Q3, Q4 type of scenario. But I did mention, if I bring up the Pow Group private community here, we had Andy say Tilray to $2 tomorrow. That was yesterday. I said I would like that to happen, but not expecting it. Honestly, I'm leaning bearish reaction. I don't like that the daily EMA bear cross and the sector weakness. And they said that the HD9 would be more of a factor in Q3. So I expect it to be a little bit lackluster, and that's exactly what happened. We ended up missing, and we got a bearish reaction. I think, coupled with the broader market weakness as well. Not trying to make excuses for Tilray. It wasn't the greatest earnings. There was some good, there was some bad. There's a lot to improve on, and there's a lot of good things that we can take from it as well. But at the end of the day, the S&P 500 was down today. Job numbers, we had the whole sector down today. Another reason why we were down. We have the DEA ordered to respond to the bias allegations. So essentially, they're not in favor of rescheduling. But as we know, the new administration is about 10 days away. And it's going to be very pro MJ and reform, in my opinion. And especially with RFK Jr. leading HHS and FDA, that's going to be a huge shift there. The DOJ and DEA is a little bit less certain and a little bit more, like I said, uncertainty there. But, overall, it's just not a great landscape right now. MJ stocks continue to be in the dumps. We also had Amplify ETFs to liquidate the US Alternative Harvest MJ US ETF. So all of these things coupled together makes for a perfect storm, and not in a good way. If we take a look at the earnings prep and estimate video I posted a few days ago, I said that we were expecting analyst estimates of around just under 217 million. We'll round it up to 217 million and negative 0.035. It came in at 211 million and negative 0.10. So pretty big miss in terms of both of those. If we bring it up here on TradingView, so you can see here what's going on here. Why did that not come through? There we go. Yeah, negative. They had negative 0.03, but in that video, I added up all of the analyst estimates and got a consensus and an average. As you can see, negative 0.10 and 200, just under 211 million. So they missed in terms of both of those. some key takeaways. So they did have some decent improvements to their gross margin and their gross profit. So that was probably, one of the biggest things. They had a gross profit increase of 29% year over year. I'm pretty sure everybody has already read this. They reaffirmed their fiscal year 2025 guidance, so around 950 million to $1 billion for fiscal 2025. So they definitely have some making up to do in the couple quarters ahead, and that very well could be with their hemp-derived beverages. We know that there was news out that DoorDash is going to be delivering hemp-derived beverages and gummies. So that's a positive thing as well. We're starting to see that mainstream adoption. And I won't go through everything in detail here. Their beverage revenue increased 36%, international MJ by 25%, wellness segment by 13%, and then they had the Project 420, a $25 million synergy plan across Tilray beverage business. So as you can see, this company is basically positioning itself as the leader in the beverage category, right? Especially with their alcohol business, over 700 distributors in the US. So this is going to be huge, right? And not just that, non-alc beers, like that's something that's going to be on the up and up. I'm doing dry January right now, and with a lot of the Tilray products, I'm able to buy the beverages here in Canada, the regular MJ beverages. It's making it a lot. I can't believe it's 10 days into January. I haven't had a sip of alcohol, right? Just makes it that much more easier. And like a lot of their non-alc craft beers are really cool, right? Like they got a lot of great flavors out there that are non-alc, and I think they're really onto something. And I think the craft segment, if they were just into Alpine, your Budweisers, your Molson Coors, not the greatest, but non-alc, your energy drinks, Highball. That's something as well that you can buy directly on Amazon today. And they're working in the US, right, under Manitoba Harvest. They also have their CC Pharma. They have, their international business. But overall, they're really dominating in the beverage category. They said in the earnings call as well, they had a 45% market share in terms of beverages here in Canada. And they kind of reaffirmed that they have the IP still with MedMen as well. So, we're just waiting for reform in the US. We're likely going to be rescheduling safer banking. And he said, I believe he said, don't quote me on it, but I'm pretty sure he said $100 million would be the potential for the medical business if we get rescheduling. And he even said that the beverage business, if he can sell MJ infused beverages today in the US, that's $1 billion business alone, right? So there's so much growth ahead. It's not even funny. And, it's like I said, you can cherry pick this. You can find some good, you can find some bad. We were kind of going back in the POW Group private community today, just looking at the MJ channel here. There was 80 responses and replies to this thread and almost 80 in this one. So we had two threads going, and about 160 comments in the different threads. So there's been a lot of back and forth. A lot of people, like I said, having good and bad to say. But overall, I'm not going to go through the entire article out of effort of time, but their adjusted net loss was 2 million, and the adjusted net loss per share was actually zero, both in the second quarter and prior year quarter, and that's adjusted, right? So non-recurring charges, items, that type of thing. And they talked about compensation, employee compensation, and just SKU rationalization. So getting rid of products again that are not driving margins. Again, we've been seeing gross profit, gross margins, and everything improve. And so the margins are improving, and like I said, a lot of that has to do with getting rid of. And then the 85 million in the second quarter here, foreign exchange loss, amortization, stock-based compensation, 8 million, which was a one-time non-recurring cost. So there you go. But overall, just kind of right sizing the ship still. I mean, I know a lot of people are getting frustrated with that because it's like, how much can you blame that on SKU rationalization and getting rid of products that aren't driving profitability and high margin? At the end of the day, it's still very early days, right? Here in Canada, I see a ton of products that are no longer available in the store. Like they used to have a ton of beverages that I would see in the beverage fridge, and there's just a complete shakeup. So they're constantly going through testing things, getting rid of products, and that's very evident, I've noticed. So they talk about portfolio optimization, SKU rationalization here. They talk about for the fiscal year ended May 31st, 2025, it is anticipated that the cumulative impact of these initiatives will result in a reduction of approximately 20 million in net sales, which we believe will be offset by the growth of our new product innovation. So they talked about new innovation. They talked about beverage categories. They talked about some exciting announcements coming with regards to their wellness business. So we'll keep an eye out for that. We know that Irwin Simon actually came from the wellness business and has a pretty good track record there. But again, you can go through this in your own time if you haven't already done so. I assume most people already have. Their cash at the end of the quarter was just under 190 million, so 189 million and change. And compared to May 31st of 2024, it was sitting at 228. So overall, with all of their acquisitions and whatnot, they still got a pretty decent balance sheet here and cash reserve. If we just take a look at excise tax, so yeah, they had 21.5 million for the quarter. So they're bringing in like what 60, somewhere around 60 million for the revenue for MJ, and it accounts for about 31% of their business at the moment. And I know a lot of people are saying, why are you so interested in this MJ company? And they're basically a beer company now. Well, they're also a distribution business, 13,000 pharmacies and CC Pharma, Tilray Medical, etc. Wellness business, Manitoba Harvest. There's a lot to like here. And a lot of people just look at the alcohol and they think it's just alcohol. Well, it's like, yes, there's other alcohol players in the space that you can find that are probably better than Tilray, but it's not just alcohol, it's craft beer and spirits, right? They're getting into the segments that are easily infused as well with MJ later on, and also the brand recognition with the Sweetwater 420, the Highball, all these brands that they can eventually use and infuse MJ into it. And not only that, it's the infrastructure, it's the distribution network, it's the scalability, it's all of these factors that are going to basically set them apart from all. There's so many people, there's so many companies that aren't even in beverages. And I've done interviews with multiple different CEOs and whatnot of different MJ companies, and I ask, are you ever going to get into beverages? Are you into beverage? Are you ever going to get into it? No, it's too much capex, right? Too much capital expenditures. So it's very similar to Curaleaf. Curaleaf is a very similar business to Tilray, and I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't merge at some point down the line in the blue chip phase. But yeah, gross profits, like I said, for like adjusted gross margin, 42% beverage. So we're seeing the growth there. We're seeing the potential there, and the margins are improving. But overall, not a great report, in my opinion. There were, like I said, you can cherry pick it for the good and the bad. Let me know in the comments and in the live chat as well, what was your favorite takeaway from the conference call, from the report? Love to hear from you, whether it's positive or negative. I welcome it all. But you can go through the live chat here as well. I don't really like how YouTube does it. You have to like scroll through the actual. You can't just see all of the comments, so it's kind of annoying. I was and it was like an hour and 22 minutes. So yeah, SPY was down a bit. So yeah, SPY broke to a daily lower low today. So again, the whole broader market was adding more fuel to the fire, so to speak, in terms of the downward pressure, and the whole sector is down today. And like I said, this information about the DEA, kind of their bias towards, they don't want rescheduling and then amplify all of these things. Just the whole sector just not popular at the moment either. And there was also a Tilray interview here with BNN. Let me know if you want me to play this, or an effort of time, maybe I can just post it afterwards. But that was just after the earnings came out. But I just want to go through here a little bit quicker. See, I was going through some of my comments. Wish there was a way to see the whole thing. Maybe there is, and I just haven't figured it out. Shout out to Martin Lucas Investor as well. He joined the live stream and was sharing it around. I appreciate that. Yeah, we had well over 300, I think close to 400 people at one point. Yeah, I said still early days in Germany, and Amazon carries their Highball energy drinks already, and I posted a link for that as well. Forget where it was here, but yeah, I just want to go through a little bit quicker here, see if there was anything else that I mentioned in the live chat. Like I said, I was trying to do this before coming on here, and there's just a lot of things here in the chat. So Tilray setting itself up to dominate the beverage category, both from an alcohol and non-alc perspective. Well set up for MJ-infused beverages when federally permissible. No other company is focusing this much on beverages. 45% share of the Canadian beverage category, as I mentioned. Guidance still in line. I already mentioned that. We should see HD9 numbers pick up over the next couple of quarters. And again, if you just go to Amazon and type in Highball Energy, it'll come up with the store there. And yeah, he continued to say, it's MJ beverages are only available in the stores, right? Eventually, if we could get them in gas stations similar to, Quebec and certain provinces, Ontario. But yeah, I think that's pretty much all I had. He said the focus right now is on HD9 drinks, and Tilray still owns IP for Ben. 90 days could see medical in the U.S. lines up with, and rescheduling in the U.S. lines up with Big Mike's prediction there. He said 30 to 90 days into 2025. We have 10 days left before the new inauguration. 100 million plus business in medical for the U.S. And I think that was pretty much it, bringing it home here. 10 million SKU rationalization off the top line. And I think that was pretty much it. All right. We'll jump into, and yeah, Boris Jordan from Cureleaf always talks about how the beverage category is super underrated. It's going to be massive. I would agree, right? It's the most preferred form factor. You go to an event. There's already happening here in Edmonton, Alberta as well. We had the Great Outdoor Music Festival, comedy festival, and it had Kevin Hart, and it had Plant Life at it. So you could buy MJ products directly at this outdoor venue and comedy festival, right? So things are changing in a big way. It's taking a lot longer than most people think or would have thought would have happened. It would have taken to happen, but same thing with Tilray CEOs Erwin Simon. He said, I thought it would have happened under the Biden administration. Now he's saying it's going to happen under the Trump, where we should see some form of legalization. To be fair, he didn't say what kind of legalization. He didn't say medical or full blown recreational. But as we've been saying on the chart for a while now, it was a descending triangle. We had a new target. We had a bear flag target of 114. We hit that to the penny, literally 114 was our daily bear flag target, and now we have a descending triangle target of under $1 of around 87 cents. So not ruling out that possibility. We have the low of the day today sitting at 119, I believe it was 118. And yeah, we hit our daily bear flag target to perfection. And then after that, we saw a bounce of about 35% almost, just under. And I mentioned yesterday, a reason why I was bearish is because of, like they said during the AMA, they probably weren't going to see any HD9 results until Q3 of 2025, which means next quarter. And we also had the daily EMA 12 and 26 bear cross on the daily chart for Tilray. The whole sector just continued to be weak. And again, this DEA FUD and this Amplify ETF, it was just, I didn't have that much. I didn't feel too good about the report, to be honest. But I want to remind everybody as well, even if Tilray had a great report, it would not matter, right? And like if you're buying MJ stocks because of the balance sheet, if you're buying MJ stocks because of their earnings and their fundamentals, like from a numbers perspective, like you're doing it all wrong. Like it's like trying to buy Tesla in the early days or Amazon based on their fundamentals before all of the growth happened. It's like buying, you're trying to rationalize the numbers and the earnings when the company's only like 2 or 3% into its growth, right? There's still like 95, the whole iceberg's still underwater, right? In terms of the growth analogy. So, and a casing point is, well, somebody might say, well, no, I think that's complete baloney. Like that's not true. If Tilray had great earnings, we'd be up 20%, 30%. That might be true, but we would probably fade it off and give it all back because the whole sector's still weak. And casing point, how can you get any better than the fundamentals, the earnings of Green Thumb, right? Green Thumb Industries has some of the best earnings, I would argue the best earnings in the sector. They continue to destroy analyst estimates. They continue to see up and to the right revenue growth and massive margins. But look at their stock price from April of 2024 to current, it's down over 50%. So it literally doesn't matter how great your fundamentals, your earnings, your numbers are, right? The whole sector is still bleeding off, right? So the sector is not trading on earnings. It's not trading on fundamentals right now. It's trading on hype, growth catalysts, and just popularity. And right now it's not popular. I've been saying for a while now that MJ stocks will probably bleed out and continue to go sideways until we see big tech, crypto, and AI take a back seat, enter its bear market, and finish its bull market. Most of big tech, AI, crypto has been in a 5-year bull market, and MJ's been in an almost 5-year bear market, right? So you have to call it like it is. SPY being weak today again didn't help, but again, to say that the whole sector is down today based on Tilray, I would say that that's not 100% correct. Maybe 10 to 20% is attributed to Tilray, but the sector is just weak. We continue to see more FUD, right, with regards to ETFs being sold off. Another one bites the dust. We have the DEA opposing, all this FUD of rescheduling. So just keep in mind that we have a new administration, a new dawn is coming, and yeah, I could go on probably on my thoughts and opinions for another 20 or 30 minutes, but I'll try not to in an effort of time. But Tilray here on the weekly time frame, things were starting to heat up, but again, the whole sector is just continuing to bleed out. So until we see, a couple of quarters, once we see earnings, a couple of quarters, and once we see the U.S. A decent couple of reports back to back, maybe we'll see some sustained growth from that. But he talked about the UK being a big market. Boris Jordan from Clearleaf always talks about the UK. There's reform coming in the US, right? High excise tax here in Canada. So there's a lot going on, and we just have to be patient, right? Like I said, there's so much growth. It's not even funny. Tilray isn't even selling flour or any kind of MJ in the US now, other than hemp derived products, and they have their Manitoba harvest. So they're like I said, there's so much growth, and even if Tilray came in, they beat analyst expectations by 10% or 20% of what the analysts were estimating, it wouldn't matter. And all you need to do to know that is look at the GTI chart, right? GTII, Green Thumb. They have amazing fundamentals, amazing earnings. Numbers are fantastic, margins fantastic, and the stock got absolutely destroyed since April, down 50%. So that right there tells you that the sector is not trading based on an earnings report. And I really don't care about any of these earnings reports until we see major reform in the US, until the biggest economies in the world start to open up, till we see excise tax improvement in Canada, till we were able to advertise in Canada. Like, there's so many things right now. It's like trying to operate a business with your hands tied behind your back, essentially, right? There's no other industry or, sector in the world that has to deal with this. And, yeah, it's, like I said, I could go on and on. But we'll jump into the chat here. There's something else I was going to mention as well, but I can't remember. It just escaped me here at the moment, but it might come back. Oh, my TFSA. So yeah, I still have my full $7,000 for my tax-free savings account here in Canada that I haven't used yet. I maxed it out, so I was waiting for that extra contribution room. Essentially, you can contribute $7,000 of your own money into this account, and it grows tax-free. So I'm just being patient. I know a couple of people in the private community were asking me if it was a good time to add some of these names, and I said I'm still waiting, holding off. MSOS ETF, excuse me, is dropping to a daily lower low today. It's another daily bear flag and a descending triangle here as well, similar to Tilray. And yeah, it's saying about 306. So key support, all-time low 342, and then next support 306. So again, it's looking like we could see another lag down, unfortunately. Jumping into the chat here. And it's pretty hard to keep up with everything today, actually. Like I see a lot of people, some people, I would say maybe like less than 10% of people said it was a good report. The rest are pretty upset and complaining and not very happy. So, it's hard on a day like today when you got a lot of stuff going on and trying to kind of filter out all the noise. That's why I like the Power Group private community as well. As I just can't do Reddit anymore. Like I like X and YouTube. That's pretty much all I use now. But going on Reddit and all this stuff, it's just like 99% of the stuff I read is just noise and nothing of substance. So really do appreciate all of the level-headedness in the Power Group private community and our members here on YouTube and viewers here as well. There's no bots or anything like that. I truly think that we have the best community out there. So Mr. Alves says, Powell, why Tilray can't increase the MJ business? Last year, 67 million. This year, 66 million. Liquid revenue, so margin up. So yeah, I mean, you have to remember too, right? In Canada, they're still right-sizing the business. They're still getting rid of certain products. They're always going through, kind of these experience phases where they introduce new products, right? They innovate. They have a couple new products come out. They see how it doesn't do well. They take it off. Like I said, when I go to Canna Cabana now, High Tide, retail shops, all of the beverages are pretty much different now, and a lot of the ones that I used to see there are no longer there. So it seems like they're still continuing to test the waters, put things out, see how it goes. But you have to remember too that they've been doing a lot of acquisitions in the beverage segment, their alcohol segment, and non-alc, and their energy drinks, their their Liquid Love and all that stuff. So a lot of their focus has been on alcohol and the beverage segment. So I think that's why. But they did mention they have a lot of innovation coming. They mentioned some exciting announcements with regards to their wellness business soon. So we'll see what happens there. You have to remember they have 4 segments, right? They have their distribution, their wellness, their MJ, and their alcohol. Alcohol isn't just alcohol. It's easily going to be infused with MJ and adjacent to that. And they'll be able to utilize all these 420 Pale Ale. They'll be able to use Highball Energy. All of these products, the branding is there, right? That's the most important part, and also the distribution network, the scalability, the ability to scale all of the and to branch out, right? And they mentioned even with their HD9 beverages, they're doing it very very smart. They're taking a crawl, walk, run approach. They're not going to like 20 or 50. Well, not you can't do 50 because not every state has the same laws, but I think like 25 right now you can do it. But they're just starting with half a dozen to a dozen, and then they're just going to continue to ramp it up, right? And we know that the Farm Bill was looking to be amended. That's basically pushed out a year, so essentially they've got free reign to continue with the hemp beverages and products. They're probably going to come out with gummies similar to the Select brand with Pure Leaf and Wana, right? If you go to Wanderous, you can order hemp products on there. So tons of options. Kramer says this makes me sick since the election decimated, but indices stay at all-time highs. Yeah, so again, Kramer, kind of what I said, right? It doesn't matter, even if they had a great report, if the whole sector's down in the dumps and everything's near all-time lows and 52-week lows, it wouldn't matter. It might go up 10, 20% and then just fade off and sell off and just continue to follow the sector, right? The sector moves together, not down to the day, the second, the minute, but when in doubt, zoom out. If you look at the longer term time frames, it's all very similar, right? So I would just really hit home. Like I mentioned yesterday in the Power Group private community, I didn't think it was going to be a good report. I said I'm leaning bearish. I think they're probably going to miss. Gave my reasons why, but I don't understand how come every single report that comes out, everybody's just like thinking it's going to be the best thing since sliced bread. Like I don't understand that logic, because like realistically, what has changed in Tilray's business since the last report? Like not a whole lot. Like they're paying down debt and everything. That's great to see. And they're improving their gross margin, gross profit. So I think at the end of the day, their cash is still doing pretty good after all these acquisitions. So at the end of the day, nothing really major has happened since the last report, and there's been no movement in the US. There's been no really, other international markets that have opened up. There's been no real progress there. I mean, they signed that tender, got that tender awarded for the Luxembourg MJ supply, which is great. But, there's no real like drastic changes that would impact this report. So, again, like until the US sees major reform, until the rest of the EU and the UK starts to, kind of see some reform, like excise tax in Canada, whatever we need to do, right? They're talking about condensing or consolidating the stamps into just one national stamp instead of one for each province and territory. So instead of 13 different ones, there'll be one. That'll cut down on administrative burdens and costs. So overall, we're on the right path, but none of these major catalysts have happened, right? So why would we expect a major change in the earnings report? I just don't get it. And to be like constantly thinking that, the next report is going to be the one that we're after, when the whole sector's bearish, right? And everything's in the dumps at all-time lows, 52 weeks lows, it's not going to matter. Like the only time earnings reports are even going to matter, in my opinion, is when we're uptrending, and right now we're downtrending in the whole sector. So, it just doesn't make sense to me to be continuously bullish every single time it's the next report, it's the next one. Realistically, I don't even care about their numbers until we see the biggest economy in the world, the U.S., start to show some reform. Because once it does, like when we look back at these numbers in 5-10 years from now, it's not even going to matter. Oh, that's what I was going to say. Recently, I saw a post and I posted this as well. I made a video on it. And again, I know I'm going to get some people say, well, look, he's comparing it to Tesla or whatever. It's like, no, I'm not comparing it to the electric vehicle sector. But they also aren't selling federally illegal drugs, Schedule I drugs in the US, right? So I would argue that we need to cut the MJ company some slack. But they had the biggest loss in history on Tesla right before they turned a profit. And It was 2003, the company was founded. They didn't turn a first quarterly profit until 2013, 10 years later. And then a full year of profit didn't occur until 2020. It took 17 years for them to see a full year of profit, right? And they lost 154 million in one quarter. And there was a post on X the other day. They make 154 million dollars now in profit every 6 days. So any company that's looking to change how the world works and is going to be a major player and a huge disruptor, they tend to offer the highest risk, but then the highest reward. They tend to have big losses. They tend to, especially in the MJ industry, right? I mean, you're dealing with, it's unlike any other industry, right? Apple almost went bankrupt in 1997 selling computers, like not Schedule One drugs that you get the death penalty in certain geographies in the world, right? Like, how could you even, like, it's almost worse from a technology perspective. You almost went bankrupt selling computers, right? How? Like, these companies are selling Schedule One federally illegal drugs that offers the death penalty. You know, at least they have an excuse. So it's the way that this stuff works, right? And again, if Tilray was a cybersecurity company, or some sort of AI company, or they're selling a service or something like that, but they're selling products that take months and months to cultivate, and license that cost millions of dollars, and facilities that cost hundreds of millions of dollars, and you're getting into beverages was just huge capex and tons of money to fund and to get off the ground and get running, right? So and this takes, you could see years before you even see $1 in revenue, right? So it's just unlike any other industry in the world. But eventually we'll get over this chasm, and we won't look back. Like I said, Tesla was lost 154 million in a quarter, and then now they make like 154 million in profit every 6 days. So it's, yeah. Individual stocks get decimated. Yeah, exactly. That's why I've been saying that, MJ's probably going to rebound after big tech, AI, crypto all tops out and enters, similar to what happened in 2018 when Canada had major reform, right? We have the US major reform on the horizon. I think it's going to be a similar scenario. Even David Klein, CEO of Canopy Growth on TDR the other day, he said, MJ and crypto, he's like, crypto's like stealing the show. He said a lot of the same demographic and people invest in crypto, invest in MJ. And he even said the same thing as me. He's like, once crypto's done, watch for MJ to gain some traction, right? The guidance was horrible. Where's the growth? Yeah, we'll see what happens here. Still got a couple quarters left. If HD9 is the future, why aren't they promoting it heavily? So again, they said it's going to be in Q3 where we might see some meaningful results from their HD9 beverages, but they did say that's the focus right now. I bought the dip yet again, says Strone. HD9 has been out long enough. We should be seeing better results already if there's real interest in the product. Oh, there definitely is. And there's multiple people on the live stream as well, on the conference call, and I've had multiple people send me messages on X and on YouTube in the comments, and direct messages saying that their products are amazing. One person said he spent like $700 already on their products. The peach Bellini is really, really good, and yeah, I've heard great things about it. But again, they're only starting with a few states, and they only have certain number of inventory, right? They're only doing the 4-packs right now. They're not even doing the 24-pack because they want to keep up with demand, right? And they don't want to overstock and have a huge supply. And they're talking about taking an incremental approach where they're just starting off in a few select states and then building up capacity and entering new states eventually after, as they start to progress. Hey, from Germany, welcome, Kevin. I think Trump will start the next wave for MJ. Rescheduling is loading. Stay cool. I agree. I definitely agree. He's pro common sense. He's pro business. He's pro the American people. He was in favor of Amendment 3 in Florida. He lives in Florida. He said safer banking, wants to get that done, wants to get rescheduling done. He said medical has been amazing. So I think, at very least, he'll get rescheduling and safer banking, maybe even uplisting in a safe harbor for the NYSE and the NASDAQ. And then I think potential for legalization of medical is possible in 4 years. We'll see if they're able to deschedule. He doesn't have the power to deschedule himself. He has to work with Congress, but he did say that he was looking forward to working with Congress, and the Republicans control the House, the Senate, and the presidency. So if there was ever a time to get something done, now's the time. Cash flow is alarming. Yeah, I mean, overall though, their cash position is pretty decent, and they're paying down debt. All the things that you want to see. Not looking amazing, but also not surprising either. Yeah, I agree. I'm here listening from beginning, little behind. Okay, no worries. Look how Celsius has grown. This is what we need from Tilray. They have the distributors. They should be lightning fast to market. Yeah. So again, it's not just like flipping a switch or anything like that, too, right? These are new products, new innovations, and a lot of these distributors, you have to kind of pitch it to them, right? And they're alcohol distributors, so you have to pitch it to them, and you have to make sure you have the supply, right? The capacity. You don't want to go into a bunch of states and then be sold out all the time, right? And also the logistics and everything would cost a lot of money. So if you start with the select few states, it's easier to get the distribution, and U.S. tariffs as well, right? That's something that they wouldn't be impacted by. So they sound sluggish to me. There's no urgency in getting new products out there. What's going on here? I can't. My chat just for some reason stopped working. I can't scroll. Give me 1 second. I'm going to refresh the chat here and see if I can't get this working now. There we go. Now I have to find my place here. They just sound sluggish to me. So yeah, the products out there. So they did say they're working on new innovative products, and stay tuned for some exciting announcements with regards to their wellness business. So we'll see. And I mentioned this in the Power Group private community too. Like all it would take is one headline too, right? Like you have to think we could see rescheduling, all of these major catalysts, which are probably deterring a lot of these other companies and Fortune 500 companies from getting into the space, right? Because of optics and stigma and fiduciary duty for the shareholders. You have to factor that in. Well, what if Molson Coors decides to get back in? What if Budweiser and like what if they decide to get back in? Constellation said they still believe in the thesis. It's just they were early. What if Coca-Cola decides to get in? PepsiCo, right? We know Monster was trialing different MJ infused beverages, right? We know Jones Soda. Tilray has the deal to distribute Mary Jones in Canada and canned beverages, and they got the Luxembourg tender. So it seems like everybody's going to Tilray for licensing deals and whatnot, and distribution in Canada. So imagine all it would take is a headline like, "Oh, Coca-Cola partners with Tilray," and I'm not saying that's going to happen or it won't happen. Like I'm saying that very well could happen, right? We don't know if it's going to happen or not, right? None of us have a crystal ball, but it very well could, right? They're already like Coca-Cola selling coffee in their drinks now. Why wouldn't they want to do CBD even eventually, right? Like maybe they're not into psychoactive component, but they're into CBD and CBN and all these other things, right? There was talks about how what was it, CBC and CBN or something like that was a positive treatment in treating like leukemia and things like that. So like there's huge opportunities here. Hope Tilray has a great 2025. Yeah, I'm thinking like probably back half 2025, 2026, when we should start to see some escape velocity and some real numbers and profitability. They should get Tyson or Snoop Dogg in to do some commercials. Yeah. Well, they had the deal to do their Tyson 2.0 products. I haven't seen any of them in Canada though. I'm not sure if they kibosh that or not, but yeah, I mean all of that, right? Like they're not doing any advertising, they're not doing any big deals or anything like that with any celebrity. So this is all stuff that'll eventually come, but you have to wonder how much of it is orchestrated. Are we going below a dollar? It's very possible. Like I said, we had that 87-cent target from the descending triangle, so whole sector still bleeding out. I wouldn't say it's out of the question at this point. I think it's probably more likely than not, but I don't think it'll be the end of the world either. And I'll certainly be looking to buy. And we were talking about this in the Power Group private community as well. That if nothing else to be excited about, and to see the silver lining is if you're like me and you have more money of your hard-earned money invested in crypto, and you're just hoping that MJ kind of stays lower for a couple months later while crypto finishes its bull run here and blow off top, and then rotate those profits into, and then I'll be loading the boat into more beaten down MJ. So one positive thing that I like about it. Just got here. I'm behind watching from the beginning. Thanks for the live streams. You bet, Harry. My pleasure. Commercials sound good. Yeah. Just imagine like the first commercial at the Super Bowl. Just imagine the amount of hype, right? This sector doesn't trade on fundamentals, earnings reports, numbers. Case in point, just look at how amazing Green Thumb earnings are, and they're down 50% since April, right? It doesn't make any sense. The reason why is because the sector is trading on sentiment. It's trading on hype. It's trading on catalysts, and we're just not seeing it right now, and it's just not popular. Oxley for the win this year. Yeah, I think Oxley's going to be a huge success story and turnaround story, and the amount of risk versus reward there, the reward is massive with very little risk, I think, in Oxley, especially adding. I was adding at like a penny and 2 pennies. Like, you invest a couple $1,000, most you can lose a couple $1,000, and you make a couple $100,000 if it even just goes back to close to all-time high. CBWTF for the win. I stopped 10 grand in Oxley, been bag holding for tomorrow long. Yeah, pretty much the same scenario with everybody, right? Everybody buy $500 of Oxy at 4 cents and hold it for 6 months. You're welcome. It's actually at 5 cents today. Or maybe you're thinking of the USD. People compare Tilray to the wrong thing. Stay the course. Take advantage of today and buy low. Yeah, Travis, I think that's a great point, right? Like, why are we comparing Tilray or the MJ sector to other sectors, right? Like, there's nothing like it, right? Like you can compare it to like adoption curves and Tesla and things like that. And like, just because a company's losing hundreds of millions of dollars or billions, like Tesla lost, I think, almost 3 billion. And then now it makes like 154 million in profit every 6 days. So, and is the biggest company in like one of the biggest companies in the planet. So, just you can compare to it in that way, but like on the reverse of that, like how do you compare like these MJ companies are going bankrupt, but they have every reason to be going bankrupt, right? There's thousands of producers and operators in the US and Canada. There's high excise tax regimes. There's no advertising. Like what? It's insane, right? And Apple and all these other companies almost went bankrupt, and they weren't selling federal illegal drugs in the US, right? So what was their excuse? And if it happened to them, why would it not happen to the MG industry? If anything, we should expect that, right? And at the end of the day, I mentioned this as well in the Power Group private community the other day. I was asking why Tilray isn't getting into more products. Like you said, why aren't they innovating more? Why aren't they releasing more products? Might they just be diversifying and waiting it out and like weathering the storm? Why would they spend all this money in R&D and whatnot when they could just wait a little bit longer and scoop up all of these LPs? Okay, we'll buy one that's really good at edibles. Well, like that's something they don't really have a lot of right now, to my knowledge. I mean, they have some, right? But like the Chowie Wowie and a few other ones. But like edibles, that's something they could easily just buy a small operator for 10 or 20 million that focuses on edibles, and they'd spend way more than that trying to do it themselves. So a lot of these products and different categories, they could easily just acquire a company for pennies on the dollar. As we're very, very difficult market dynamics here right now for a lot of these producers, and it's just not sustainable. You're not going to have 1,000 producers in Canada, over 1,000 producers in Canada. It just doesn't make any sense. And like high excise taxes, property taxes, payroll taxes, income taxes, like it's people, yeah. Value investing is not what you should be doing in the MJ space, right? There's no such thing as value investing in MJ. The only time value investing will be pertinent to this sector will be 5 to 10 years after the US legalizes at the federal level recreationally, right? Like the blue chip phase, 5 to 10 years after that, probably, in my opinion, right? There's no point on, like, imagine value investing Apple, Amazon, Microsoft. Like, of course, Warren Buffett missed them all. He even said, I'm an idiot. I'm dumb for not, like, buying those companies because he didn't understand technology. He was doing value. He was looking at the balance sheet. He was doing value investing. He said, this doesn't make sense. I can't invest in it. Right. But he missed all the biggest companies in the world, but he doesn't need to hit all of those because he's investing hundreds of millions and billions of dollars. And, even if he buys Bank of America and gets 10% gains, well, he made billions, right? Whereas we would need thousands of percent gains to make, even millions, because we're just the herd, right? We're retail investors. MJ stocks have been my worst investment the past decade, but I feel Oxford would be great this year. EBITDA post. Yeah, I mean MJ stocks. There's been again. We can cherry pick it, right? There's been canopy growth went up like 300 or 400% like a couple of weeks, right? So there's lots of opportunity, right? Volatility is to the downside right now, but there's been lots of volatility to the upside as well. And this massive volatility to the downside tells you that we're still going to see massive volatility to the upside. What goes up must come down, and what goes down must go up, and what goes up must go down. So volatility is our friend, and you want that. So the more volatility to the downside just tells us that there's so much like opportunity to the upside still, right? Once stocks stop dropping 10, 20% in a day or two or a week or a couple months, well, that tells you that it's going to be harder to get those 50, X, 10X, 50X, 100X returns, right? And probably almost a thing of the past at that point. Imagine trying to get a 100X return on Amazon. Just, it would never happen. I don't even think it would happen ever, like for the rest of time. So it's just all about recognizing where we are in the growth curve, right? I'm just worried about the MJ future for Tilray. I'm not worried about the final results, but Irwin said when the U.S. legalizes 250 million opportunity to Tilray, I think is this is low. Yeah, they said a $1 billion opportunity just in beverages alone, and they said $100 million for medical in the U.S. And yeah, to the potential number one company. But again, to your point there, Mr. Al's right. Like I'm worried about their MJ future for Tilray. Well, Tilray probably is too, just like pretty much every producer in Canada and a lot of people, a lot of producers in the US now. So all the more reason to diversify into the beverage category, into alcohol, non-alc, energy drinks, wellness business, distribution business, right? And just imagine like 13,000 plus pharmacies, like you're really getting your tentacles into everything, right? And like I said, they're partnering with Mary Jones and canned beverages. Like everybody wants to partner with Tilray. So it seems like the de facto leader to me. The when only the medical that Simon was talking about. I'm not sure I know what you mean there, AM Finance on that, but maybe you can clarify. Tilray pivoting is a smart move. I agree. And I like that I am on Tilray for the MJ business, not for the alcohol business. Yeah, well, again, their alcohol business, they have non-alc business like beers as well, right? Which I think are very underrated. And I think I'm dry January. If I could buy a lot of the Montauk non-alc and a lot of their non-alc products here in Canada, I would, right? I'd buy all of their alcohol products as well if I could, but I can't. Shock Top is in Canada or whatever, and it's really good. I buy that one. But even that I can't find as much as a lot of other products like Blue Moon and things like that. But yeah, Tilray for like their alcohol business. You have to remember that their alcohol business can easily become MJ as well, right? Their Sweetwater 420 brand, right? That is the best brand. I would argue the best brand in all of the industry, right? Once they can infuse it with MJ. So, and who knows? Maybe they even come out with like a something hemp. I don't know. There's so much opportunity there. It's not even funny. And then you got your wellness business, your distribution business, and then in their alternative beverages, they have their energy drinks. They have their liquid love. Their different water drinks as well, right? Triple distilled and electrolytes and all this stuff. Yes, for the next couple of years, we will just medical legalize. Yeah, I agree. In the U.S., I'm extremely happy about Tilray. Glad for this opportunity, but this low. Why spend the money on commercials when they have not formulated their rock star? This is a new industry and they sell a product people are willing to risk prison for. This is my opportunity of a lifetime. Do not forget corporations cannot buy until it is US legal. Yeah, even Kevin O'Leary said that, looking at an MJ company, his lawyer telling him, are you effing crazy? This is Schedule 1 drug, dude. And he's like, oh, can't touch it. So, all the hedge funds, the VCs, venture capitalists, they're coming eventually. And the first step will be rescheduling, right? That'll be the monumental shift, the absolute sea change that we need to see. And what else did you say? Yeah, risk prison for. Screw prison. Like, there's certain places in the world where you get the death penalty for simple possession, not even trafficking, just possession, right? I think it's Singapore. If you have over an ounce of MJ on your possession, just on your person, well, you're dead. Sorry, your life's gone, right? Like crazy. And then look at that athlete, medical MJ in Russia. like insane, right? I'll rewatch. I'm late. Sounds good, Jam. Appreciate it. Better late than never. Canada's MJ taxes to be settled in 2025. The budget comes out in February. I'm not. I'm not holding my breath. I think it's probably going to be like a 2026 or beyond thing. But it could happen sometime around the same time rescheduling happens. I've always said that that would make a lot of sense when 280E goes away from rescheduling in the U.S. That might entice the Canadian policymakers to improve excise taxes. They might just be kind of even using that as a measuring stick. It's like, okay, well, until they do any major tax reform, maybe we don't need to. And because like they want to remain competitive as well, right? They don't want to lose all their business to the U.S. and they want to, support their businesses at home. So, yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me. Which Canadian MJ company is the best dank overall? Who's the most innovative? Who owns the most assets? I would say Tilray, um, Cureleaf, the best dank. Hard to say, right? Like there's craft. Like it's the same thing with alcohol, right? The best the best beer doesn't necessarily mean it's the most valuable company. Budweiser doesn't make the best beer, but they're the most valuable alcohol and beer maker, right? Their beer's okay, but they make the most money, right? Because of the brand and just their reach. But you can have great craft growers and micro growers here in Canada or in the world, but that doesn't mean like Tilray has Redecan, which in Broken Coast, which are phenomenal, quad A, very good quality, high potency, right? Like great craft MJ. So hard to say. Like Canada, the quality of the flower in Canada right now is insane. Like it's getting so much better, and the prices are ridiculously cheap. Like you can get an ounce for like around $100 US, and sometimes even lower than that for like decent AAA. If you want to get like quad A, it's maybe like 120 US. They are branding globally too. Name recognition, Coca-Cola of the MJ industry do not wish for a buyout. So glad to see them diversify. Yeah, the best thing I think would be like a partnership with Coca-Cola. But what if Big Pharma starts to get into the industry, right? What if Pfizer or Johnson and Johnson goes and acquires some companies, right? All of this stuff could happen. And again, it's probably going to start with rescheduling, right? I just joined the live. Do you agree that so far the worst performing stock in this sector? No, no, I would say like CGC or ACB is probably the worst performing. Tilray should get the hemp paper business. Joe Rogan podcast should get in the hemp paper. They do have hemp paper actually. They have the Reddy's pre rolls and they have hemp. They're called Reddy's Hemped, and they have hemp paper. They also have the new Reddy's Blunties. Those are friggin' wicked. The blunt papers. I don't live in Canada, but I see from reports that they've been losing market share in Canada. Yeah, again, Sam, they're focusing on diversifying and the alcohol business, their medical business, their distribution business, their wellness business, right? So they're not 100% MJ focused right now, like an organogram, for example, which is gaining market share, and they just acquired a company which gave them the leading market share. But again, you know, it's a lot of these things, right, with their alcohol business are going to be easily MJ infused, right? So they can easily turn their alcohol business into MJ business, right? So you have to kind of look past, our nose, so to speak, and see what's really going on behind the scenes. And a lot about investing, right? Like I see a lot of people reading books on investing and they're looking at like the past. They're reading books on, value investing. And while that's great and all, but a lot of people are reading books on the past. I like to read books on the future, right? I want to see where the world's going because investing really is about knowing where the world's going to go, right? And the companies that are going to change the world and change how business is being done. And like case in point, like the technology companies and the like Tesla, right? Like in the early days, if you didn't understand where the industry was going and how early you were, right? Same thing with the internet. Same thing with the internet of money now, of crypto. If you don't really understand where we're going, how can you possibly know how to measure something or to value something, right? So, and I think that's why a lot of people get wrecked here in this sector is because a lot of value investing, like TradFi, traditional investors, come into this and they're looking at the numbers and they're saying, the price to earnings or this, that, and the other thing, and it's like it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. Like who cares? Green Thumb has amazing results in earnings and numbers, but their stock's down 50% since April, right? It doesn't matter. You can have the best fundamentals and numbers and financials in the world. it doesn't matter, right? The sector trades on hype, sentiment, and popularity, and we just don't have it in catalysts, right? And we just don't have that right now. I have time to wait. We'll wait till Tilray beat 50 million market cap at least. Yeah, I think that's easily doable. I know that it will be a big company in MJ. I also want to focus on MJ business. Yeah, and like for me, like I love craft beer. It's one of my like I live in Edmonton, Alberta, and we always call it Alberta here, right? Um, One of my favorite puns, but yeah, it's I love craft beer. Obviously, don't love the poisonous effect of it, but you get your non-alcohol options, right, with Tilray's business and their energy drinks and their liquid love, their waters and all these other things, right? And they're going to be they can easily, once federally permissible, just infuse some MJ into that, whether it be, psychoactive or CBD, CBN, CBC, CBG, all of that, right? It's like writing paper, can do a lot from the plant itself. Yep. Industrialization. Thanks a lot for your time, pal. Your job is amazing. Let's get rich together. Thank you very much. I appreciate it, Mr. Alves. And yeah, it goes both ways. So I really appreciate all of the contributions from everybody on the channel. And shout out to all of our members as well. Gonna end it there though. Yeah, I didn't even expect the stream to go this long. So yeah, almost an hour here. So gonna wrap it up. I hope everyone has a fantastic rest of your Friday and weekend ahead. And keep your chin up. Like I said, we don't need to put that much weight into these earnings reports. The next time Tilray earnings come out, just don't put that much weight behind it. And again, all we need to know to drive that point home, look at Green Thumb's recent earnings. The last couple of quarters, they've been absolutely amazing, and the stock's been absolutely destroyed. So you can say what you want about Tilray's earnings. It should be better. If it was better, we'd be up. I don't believe in that at all, right? It's just the sector is trading the way it's trading, and once everything starts to reverse, then we can put a little bit more weight behind some of these quarterly reports and their annual filings. But until we see a couple of quarters even strung together, no one's going to trust it, right? And there's so many people underwater and traders and things like that. They're going to take profit. It'll just sell off. So until we have at least 2, preferably 3 quarters of back-to-back solid, financials, and I would argue that wouldn't even matter anyway, because like I said, look, Green Thumb had a few quarters back-to-back that were awesome, amazing, like 60 some percent gross margin, like crazy numbers. Revenue increasing, and it's still down 50% since April. So it really doesn't matter in my opinion. But appreciate it, everybody. Thanks a lot for your time. I already read that. Alcohol is a placeholder that generates revenue and the U.S. legalizes, better than paying a license that you can not use for 3 years. Exactly. And not affected by U.S. tariffs as well. Do you think it's time for Tilray to merge? I think they'll probably buy more companies, as I alluded to earlier. Thank you for all you do. Thank you, Happy Glass. I appreciate it. And they said that they're looking at potentially buying another spirits company or someone in the beverage category as well in the alcohol. So lots of acquisitions, I think, still forthcoming. All right. Once again, happy Friday. Hope you have a great weekend ahead. It's Rod with Pow Group, everybody. Thanks again for joining us on the Pursuit of Wealth, and we'll catch you on the next one.